Okay, let's head to Philadelphia now. Rival protesters are on the streets of Pennsylvania, where the president has launched a legal challenge to try to stop counting of mail-in ballots received after Election Day. North America correspondent Catherine Diss joins us now from the streets of Philadelphia. Catherine, just first off, so this Pennsylvania is the key now, and we're expecting a possible result there over the coming hours. What's it like to be there on the streets in amongst that right now?
Good morning, Michael. Yes, it most certainly is now the state that's being looked at. On the streets, we're seeing really the two sides of America play out in one street. It is really a microcosm for how divided this nation is. Just to my left, we have people calling for every vote to be counted. They are from the Count Every Vote camp. They are more or less supporters of Joe Biden, but they say more broadly democracy itself. On the other side of me, we have supporters of the President Donald Trump waving their flags. So they are saying that the ballots that are allowed to be delivered 3 days after the election should not be counted, that the election is set for one day, and that's when people should be casting their ballots. So we've got two dueling parties here sparring on the streets of Philadelphia. And I tell you what, Joe, for anyone who thought that this election was going to be a landslide for Biden, this tells you why it was never going to be that. This really is a deeply divided country, and we're getting that feeling here. We've been here for a number of hours now. The crowd has grown in numbers over that period of time. It's been relatively peaceful. I can't say that it's been particularly violent or aggressive, but both sides are very passionate and they want to make sure that their voices are heard. And the stakes are just so high here. As you said, this is now the state that could well deliver Joe Biden the presidency. And
Catherine, is that just some random spot on the streets of Philadelphia, or are they actually outside the counting centre there?
There is another protest at the counting centre. We're a short distance from that, outside another sort of major building here in Philadelphia. I forget the name, I do apologise for that. But there are small simultaneous protests across the city. But really this is in the heart of downtown Philadelphia. We have seen protests in some other cities, but I haven't attended those myself, so I can't really give you a feel for the mood. But the same sort of messages are being conveyed to the audiences.
And Catherine, are you hearing anything about this media conference? It's due to start in about 3 minutes' time, that we'll bring to our viewers live here on the ABC News channel. Are you hearing anything in particular about that media conference?
No, look, we don't know what it's for. I don't know if it's going to be a declaration. It suggests that could well be the case, but we haven't had any numbers updated for a little while now. So earlier today, officials said there are around 600,000 mail-in ballots still to be counted in Pennsylvania. If Joe Biden won 60% of those, he would be able to secure the state and therefore the White House. At the moment, he's been winning those ballots at a rate of around 78%. So he's got a bit of a cushion there. We don't know if that's what the Secretary of State is going to talk about. It could well be to do with the legal challenges that Donald Trump has launched here in the state of Pennsylvania. He's launched a number of different lawsuits in the courts to try and stop the counting of those mail-in ballots, which under state law by electoral officials are allowed to be received 3 days after the election date of November 3rd, as long as they are postmarked as being cast on the day of the election. But he is trying to get that thrown out. Today he did have a win in one of the courts here, which allowed his campaign officials to oversee the counting of those ballots. Due to the pandemic, they had to stay further away. They weren't allowed to essentially look over the shoulder of those counters, but they have now been allowed by that court to be within 6 feet of those people who are counting the ballots. That is a small win for the Trump campaign, but in terms of the other court cases that he has launched, we don't yet have any sort of determination.
Yeah, and Catherine, have you heard much expert opinion on the likelihood of success of those legal challenges to the whole mail-in ballot process?
Look, there isn't a great deal of suggestion that Donald Trump would be successful. So there's a greater degree of doubt than there is of optimism that he could be successful with those challenges. At this point in time, if you look at the other states in which he's launched legal challenges, both Michigan and as well as Georgia, courts there have already thrown out very similar challenges to their mail-in ballots. So that sort of gives you a bit of an indication as to how the legal fraternity is feeling about them. But as for Pennsylvania itself, I can't give you any sort of specific advice or expert opinion, but I think you just have to look towards the precedents that have already been set.
Yeah, okay, great to have you there on the streets of Philadelphia at this big moment, Catherine, and no doubt we'll be talking to you again through the day, our time, and the night, your time.